Good morning. I hope this video finds you in good, best of health and spirits. Okay. The name of this video is why NITI Aayog must support Indian states learning from each other. Okay. And NITI Aayog is a new Indian planning commission, it's a replacement for the Indian Planning Commission. It's a new economic think tank from founded in 2015 by Narendra Modi. Okay, let us begin this video by tracing the history of the Planning Commission, which was first instituted in the year 1950. The Planning Commission of India was a government agency. It no longer exists, of course, that oversaw India's economic and social development. It was established in the year 1950 by our first Prime Minister, first Indian Prime Minister, namely Jawaharlal Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and it ceased operations in the year 2014, after which it was replaced by the NITI Aayog think tank. Okay, what exactly did the planning commission do? The planning commission had a very large number of functions. It created first 5 year a series of 12 5 year plans from the year 1951 onwards. Okay, 1 year after it was instituted. This was in the lines of USSR's 5 year plans. Okay, they because it was they followed a centralized planning system. After Lenin died, Stalin, he was a great dictator, evil dictator. He instituted this in the year 1928, supposedly, and this was followed by China also 5 years back. Hours after Deng Xiaoping instituted reforms in China in the year 1978, this was by and large abandoned, and even though it continues to be enforced, continues to exist, it has lost its meat and teeth. Okay, it exists in a diluted form. Okay, so what did the planning commission do? It created 5 years plans, it assessed the country's resources and development capabilities, it developed strategies for implementing plans, it monitored the execution of plans, recommended policy adjustments, and this was chaired by the Prime Minister of India. At the time, it was a centralized approach. Chief ministers did not play a major role. At the time, as a matter of fact, even linguistic states did not exist because they came into existence only in the year 1956. It had a deputy chairman and several full-time members. It had several divisions for each sector of the economy and society. Okay, and it was headed by a senior officer, and I have spoken to you about the 5 year plans. Okay, and 5 year plans by and large now have been discontinued after 2015 or so, but I still recommend it that they can be continued in a diluted way, diluted kind of structure. There is no need to throw the baby out of the baby out along with the bathwater. Okay, let us now review the basic 5 year plans in brief. The first 5 year plan was presented by the Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to the Parliament of India. Okay, and it mainly focused on the development of the primary structure because British had left the Indian economy ruined, wrecked. Okay, it was based on the Harold Domar model. However, the Harold Domar model was modified to some degree. What is the Harold Domar model? The Harold Domar model is a model of economic growth that explains how a country's growth rate is related to its capital saving. It is basically a Keynesian model developed by John Maynard Keynes, and it was followed by the American government during the 1930s after the Great Depression. Okay, the second plan of 1956 to 61 focused on the development of the public sector, and this led to rapid industrialization. This followed the PC Mahalanobis model, who was socialist and left leaning. Okay, the third 5 year plan stressed agriculture and improvement in the production of wheat. This was associated with the notorious PL 480, and we had famines and drought in different parts of India. We also had wars with Pakistan and China. Okay, and there were constructions of dams and other public sector projects. There are many fertilizer and cement projects also being built. There was importance given to primary education, construction of schools and highways, etc. Okay, this was a precursor to the Green Revolution, which took place a couple of years later and was largely a failure. Okay, the fourth 5 year plan was instituted between the years 1969 and 1979. At this time, Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. This came after the period of Lal Bahadur Shastri. The objective of this plan was socialistic entirely. They wanted to correct concentration of wealth and supposedly in the hands of fewer people, and they wanted to distribute wealth more equally. But this type of forced redistribution of wealth doesn't work. Usually, you have to create more opportunities and you have to provide equality of opportunity. That at least is my approach. And it was based on the Gargill formula. This focused on growth and stability and self-reliance also. Okay, and it also was a formula for redistributing the central resources to the states. Okay, and during this period, uh, uh, 14 major nationalized banks were nationalized during this period, and 9 more were nationalized within a decade or so after that. Okay, now let us come to the fifth 5 year plan. The fifth five-year plan was instituted between 1974 and 78. It laid a great deal of stress on employment, poverty alleviation. Garibi Hobo became the slogan. And Indira Gandhi also was full of slogans. She had 10-point program which was largely hollow, full of hot air and rhetoric. Okay. And there was also a focus on self-reliance in agricultural production and defense. And this was however rejected by Murari Desai. Murari Desai, however, followed the same model, socialist model. And the reason why Murari Desai won the election is Janata Party won the election is because of an infamous emergency, where many leaders were imprisoned and jailed. Okay, and the sixth five-year plan ran between 1980 and 85. The sixth five-year plan began marked the beginning of the economic liberalization program. This was hand dictated by the Indian International Monetary Fund or IMF. Price controls were eliminated, and this baby steps were taken towards liberalization. The NABARD, the National Bank for Agriculture Rural Development, was also established for the development of rural areas. Okay, on the 12th of July 1982, on the recommendation of the Sivaramakrishnan Committee. Family planning was also adopted in a big way. The seventh five-year plan ran between 1950 to 1980. This was led by the Congress Party with Rajiv Gandhi as the Prime Minister. Okay, the plan lays stress on improving the productivity of industries. It also led to technological upgradation. He also introduced information technology and information um, IT sector in a big way. Okay, and they also wanted to focus on economic productivity and modernization of industries. Okay, part liberalization was also done during this period, but it was not done in consistent fashion. It was in an ad hoc fashion, like two steps forward, one step backward type of approach. The eighth five-year plan is very important. It ran between 1992 and 97. There was a forex crisis in 1991, which left reserves of only 1 billion. Therefore, under pressure, the country had to take under PV Narasimha Rao and his finance minister Manmohan Singh. It was a minority government, but it made waves by trying to introduce liberalization. Okay. And the ninth five-year plan came 50 years after independence. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India during the ninth plan. It tried to use the latent and unexplored economic potential of the country to promote social and economic growth. Okay. The main objective of the 10th five-year plan is to attain 8% GDP growth per year, reduction of poverty rate by 2007, reduction of gender gaps in literacy and wage rates by 50%, etc. There was also a 20-point program in this period, and we achieved a growth rate of less than 8%. Okay. In 2004, there was a surprise reversion of fortunes of the BJP because they focused too much on the India Shining campaign, and apparently the growth did not reach large sections of the population. So Manmohan Singh was unexpectedly sworn in as Prime Minister after Sonia Gandhi refused to take the seat. Okay, and the objective of this was to increase enrollment in higher education by to a large extent by to year 2011 and 12. They also focused on distance education, convergence of formal, non-formal distance IT educations, rapid inclusive growth, etc. They also wanted to emphasize on social sector and delivery of services also. They also wanted to emphasize on education, better education and skill development. They also wanted to reduce gender inequality and promote environmental sustainability to increase the growth rate in agriculture, industry, and services to 4%, 10%, and 9% respectively. To reduce the total fertility rate to 2.1 or below that. To provide clean drinking water to all by 2009. To increase agricultural growth to 4%. Then the 12th five-year plan was the last five-year plan between 2012 and 2017. Okay, in this plan, the government wanted to achieve a growth rate of 9%. The government intends to reduce poverty by 10% during the 12th five-year plan, to create 50 million new job opportunities in non-agricultural sectors, to remove gender and social gaps in social school enrollment, to enhance access to higher education, to reduce malnutrition among children aged 0.38 years, to provide electricity to all villages, etc. There were many other lofty goals and ambitions. The five-year plans, however, ended with the dissolution of the Planning Commission. It was dissolved because it was associated with the socialist era, unfortunately. So they did not want an over centralized approach. So they wanted a new think tank called NITI Aayog. Okay, it was developed in the Prime Minister of Modi, who wanted a clean break from the Nehruvian past. However, the approach of disbanding the Planning Commission was criticized by many other economics, especially leftists. Okay, the full form of NITI Aayog of Planning Commission is the abbreviation for National Institute of Transforming India. It serves as an apex public policy think tank for the government of India. It is a nodal agency tasked with catalyzing economic development. It aims to foster competitive federalism. Okay, and since chief ministers are also included in this, it is a joint venture between central government and state governments. It had launched initiatives such as 15-year roadmap, 7-year vision, strategy and action plan, Amrut, Digital India, Atal Innovation Vision, etc. Okay, there were a lot of other thinkers also, like intellectuals, etc., but the number of such thinkers is very limited now. Okay, and if you want to trace India's economic policies into its independence, it was greatly influenced and impacted by its negative colonial experience. Most Indian nationalist leaders justifiably considered British policies to be imperialist and highly exploitative. British may have done good things. They introduced, for example, the railroads and telegraphs. However, British neglected rural regions. They imposed taxes and unnecessary taxes. They killed industry in rural areas, artisans, handicrafts, etc. They forced people to grow indigo. They ruined the Indian economy. At the time of the Mughal period or earlier, it was a booming economy. It collapsed during the British period. The British dug their own grave because there was rising discontent and unrest. Mahatma Gandhi and other leaders led the call for clarion call for independence. Okay, Indian national leaders also wanted to adopt cost corrections. Okay, they leaned towards the Leninist Stalinist model pursued by the former and erstwhile SSR. Okay, they also had negative experiences because of capitalism and right wing ideologies under Hitler, Mussolini, and during the Great Depression, there were a lot of negative sentiment. There was a lot of a negative sentiment associated with the free market capitalism. Therefore, with the exception of Rajaji and a few people, okay, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, there were no takers for laissez-faire capitalism in developing countries. What they thought is a lot of government intervention is required, and a lot of intervention is required, and a bottom-up approach is required. That's that we endorse fully. Okay, and this was the way it ran till the 80s, when there was slow liberalization. Both the Congress and the Janata Dal Party were strong at that time, opposed liberalization. Okay, and most of the thinkers also opposed, like B.T. Ranadeve and other people whom I'm aware of at that time in the 80s, opposed liberalization. Okay, again in 1991 there was a big major fiscal crisis. I told balance of payment crisis. I have told you that because of the collapse of the Soviet Union, the early Gulf War, fall in remittances, India ran the risk of defaulting on its loans. Okay, it was running a huge fiscal deposit and a critical balance of payment position as well. Foreign exchange reserves were adequate import only a few weeks ago. So India asked for a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. IMF in turn asked for opening of the Indian economy for international trade. Moody and other agencies had reduced the creditworthiness of India considerably. Okay, and the LPG reforms were introduced, like license liberalization, privatization, and globalization reforms were carried out in 1991, and it did away with the license Raj completely, with the exception of few sectors, reduced tariffs to competitive um, levels, and ended many public monopolies. Okay, and there was automatic approval of FDI in many sectors. Okay, and there was a lot of decentralization because Indira Gandhi had over-centralized everything. This led to rising discontent, simmering discontent in Punjab, Kashmir, Assam, even in Tamil Nadu to some extent. Okay, and India's federal machinery came of age. So far, so good. But after 1981, what happened is different states began to move in different trajectories. This was partly because India had many political parties. Each political party has its own economic philosophy and tended to follow a different growth model. Okay, some states have been successful in their endeavors, while some have not. Okay, an overarching economic framework is how now lacking, and most states have failed to emulate each other's best practices or learn from each other's mistakes. Let us now review some developed models in detail. The Gujarat model of governance. What is the Gujarat model? In simple terms, the Gujarat model refers to a period of economic policy that was pursued from the year 2000 onwards. The model is considered to be neoliberal, associated with the BJP. They wanted rapid improvement in infrastructure, including road, ports, airports, power, etc., better infrastructure, better administration, better governance, reduction of red tape and bureaucracy, emphasizing manufacturing, emphasizing approach. Okay, they wanted to emulate the success of Asian tigers such as Taiwan and South Korea. Okay, this naturally paid off, and Gujarat witnessed a high growth rate. Okay, and however, there was fruits of development did not reach all sections of society. Social cultural development was lopsided, and the trickle down effect did not work as uh, intended. Okay, and As a matter of fact, this was criticized by many thinkers, including leftist thinkers. Kerala, on the other hand, pursued an altogether different approach. They focused more on social indicators, economic indicators, infant mortality rate, total fertility rate, maternal mortality rate, etc. And they reduced the population growth rates. It reached a total fertility rate of 2.17 by 1988 itself. Okay, and this was in stark contrast to the neoliberal approach followed in Gujarat. The Kerala model of development traces its roots to the 1950. However, it shot to widespread prominence in the 1970s to the policies advocated by K. N. Raj. Okay, and literacy rates were very high. However, employment was poor because it did not focus much on industries, and there was an anti-industry sentiment due to the left-wing government. Let us now come to the Dravidian model of development. Tamil Nadu is the most Dravidian state in India. The term Dravidian, however, has been misused in previous publications. Okay, I have written about this in detail. Tamil Nadu also adopted a more inclusive development model and greater distribution of wealth through better governance and superior administrative machinery. It has, however, not missed the liberalization and globalization bandwagon. It is the most industrialized state in India. Its manufacturing process is also widely showcased, and it has adopted a decentralized approach to administration, and all districts are being developed. Okay, and this is based on the Dravidian political ideology and the ideals of social reformer Periyar EVR and others, who was against the caste system and other approach. Okay, and its per capita income is also one of the highest. There are very few lackery in the Tamil Nadu development model. Odisha model of development. Odisha is seen as one of the underdeveloped state in India. It's a laggard in many, if not most of the human development indicators. It is also one of India's poorest states. Some states, districts like Kalahandi are also associated with starvation, etc. However, the winds of change are now rapidly blowing. Its performance in the last decades has been impressive in some sectors, such as bottom-up development. Women's empowerment and women's development have also been given accorded importance, and has taken uh, center stage. Many public utilities such as power coal have been privatized. The size of bureaucracy has been reduced, and the welfare schemes have been improved. Okay. Other states have also followed other development models. For example, Sikkim has invested heavily in organic farming. Okay. And Chandrababu Naidu extensively focused on Hyderabad and Amravati, but now he is following a decentralized approach. Okay. Therefore, the way forward is as follows: states must learn from each other directly. This is akin to a horizontal model. States can collect case studies from other states. Center can collect case studies from states. They can transmit to other states. This is akin to a vertical model. NITI Aayog must therefore play more of a advisory role, and it must not impose its models and treat on states. Okay, and either states can be encouraged to share their experience on ideas, or government can ask for them. This is a or pull approach. Okay, and of course, no one size approach is possible. Local considerations always be taken into account and consideration, even cultural variations between states and non-cultural variations in states. Niti Aayog must also take knowledge and experience from other countries, because many African countries are now doing extremely well, like Rwanda, Ethiopia, which were on the brink of starvation sometime back. A large number of case studies need to be collected both from NGOs from other countries, other states, particularly in South America, Africa, and Asia, and from Indian states also. This will help identify what are the generalizations that can be done, and what rules need to be identified on a specific basis. Okay, so a large number of case studies need to be gathered, large number of white papers also need to be gathered, and this will greatly help in other states and in the center to learn from mistakes and to implement post corrections easily. Okay, with this I conclude my video. Thank you very much once again.